Yeah, so we are on the air.
Okay.
We were talking about how you clear your browser history before you give a talk, because
I
you don't
always
want your search history to show animal sex, for example, on
stuff like
stage.
that.
Yeah,
Yes,
that would be embarrassing.
exactly. That
So this is
is.
Absolute Zero. I'm Bertrand Leroy,
I'm Rachel Appel.
and today we are talking about animal sex.
Animal sex. So I had some interesting search history that had to be cleared before a presentation, lest
Yeah,
people see things. So it's a good way to get in a, you know, shenanigans. So
yeah, shenanigans. Um,
you
so
never
today
know.
we are talking about animal sex, which is a fascinating subject, actually. Yeah,
Yes,
it's also funny, but
it is very funny.
so yeah, there are all kinds of weird behavior in the animal kingdom, but sex has the most amazing behavior. What's particularly interesting is that when we were talking about doing this show today, we 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 asked the question: is there any sexual behavior in humans that cannot be found in animals? And we
Right.
had a hard time finding that, right? Whereas
Yeah.
the reverse is probably a lot easier. It's probably a lot
Right.
easier to find animal behavior that doesn't exist in humans.
Right.
I hope.
Exactly. So yeah, so animals do some rather disturbing things, but then I'm gonna say people do some rather disturbing things as
Of
well.
course they do.
So it's just that we have tools and things like that, but I'm pretty sure animals use tools as well. So I don't know that they specifically use them for sex, but uh,
Yeah, that's one of the things we thought was
you know
probably
they don't
uniquely
need
human:
it.
sex toys.
Right, sex toys. Like they don't need it for procreation, and it's a compulsion. We also discussed that. It's not just enjoyable necessarily for
For most animals, but there
most
are animals that take pleasure in
dolphins,
sex. Dolphins,
dolphins,
bonobos.
penguins, bonobos. Yeah,
So does it mean that it takes cognitive faculties that are close to what humans possess to associate pleasure with sex?
not necessarily think so. Although dolphins are very intelligent, bonobos are a primate. Um,
So
I
that
would I would think elephants, perhaps. I never specifically looked into it, but considering the intelligence level of elephants and their behaviors around other social concepts, such as when they come across skeletons of dead elephants, they can seem to recognize them, and they know where ancestors died and things like that. From this is even on some basic documentary TV shows about like National Geographic. So really interesting behavior that they have. That's really like high level behavior, right?
Yeah, it would be
So
interesting to see if there is a correlation
so
between
yeah, if there's some sort of
intelligence
correlation.
and pleasurable sex. And how do we even know if an animal feels pleasure?
Right, right.
It's a very anthropocentric way of looking at the problem. And actually, recently, Neil deGrasse Tyson got in trouble with
I
biologists.
saw that. Yes, because he tweeted saying basically if animals didn't have enjoyable sex, why would they do it? We wouldn't be here. And
Yeah,
people just all
something
of the
like
people
that.
tweeting back at him with like, "Have you heard of a cat penis?" Like tens of
Yeah.
thousands of tweets about the cat penis, which is
Okay,
barbed.
so let's talk about cat penises
That's
for a
pretty
second.
terrifying,
Yeah,
quite
it is.
frankly.
So
I'm just
if
telling
you've
you,
ever heard cats having sex,
they
it's
scream.
it's pretty terrifying. They're screaming really disturbing screams.
Yes,
And the
actually,
reason for that is that it's actually hurting like hell because the cat penis has spikes on it.
right. So
Spikes
I
that are, by the way, directed backwards so that it's easy to get in,
but
super
not out.
difficult to get out.
Right.
Ouch.
Yeah, yeah, right. Uh, nope, nope,
Yeah.
nope.
Nope, 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 nope.
Nope, nope, nope.
But they still do it.
They still do it. So,
So
despite that,
I'm sure Tyson would argue that there is one party in the couple
well, there's that.
that feels pleasure.
Right.
But that's not always true. For
Still,
example, well, there are many, many examples. I mean, first, most animals don't have the nervous system, the nervous system that is sufficiently complex to actually feel pleasure in any way. I mean, when you
right.
look at urchins, for example, no such thing. So pleasure is just out of the equation here. It's just a non-thing. But if you look at salmons, for example, they just swim up the river until
Right.
they are so exhausted that they just lay eggs and die, basically.
That's kind of hilarious that salmons grew until they're so exhausted that they die from
It's actually not the sex that kills them.
Really?
It's just the last thing they do before dying.
The last thing they do
But
before dying.
it's the swimming that just when they arrive,
they're literally dying to get laid. Is what it is. Right?
yeah, and there is obviously no pleasure involved in that at all.
In that. Right. How about the praying mantis? Your head literally eaten off.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Right the hell off.
Spiders are pretty awful as well.
Right, like that or a cat. Jesus, like this is not a good deal for either of these animals.
Yeah, it's a compulsion. It's not. No, they are not doing it
from our
for
point of view,
pleasure.
it's not a good deal. For them, actually, it is a good deal because they're still here.
Yeah. So, what about that? That's really interesting. So, why do so many animals die or get eaten after sex?
Because it's that compulsion for procreation. Yeah, but why? Like, couldn't they find a way to not have to do that? But it doesn't matter. Once they have procreated, they've done the job. That kind of is the reason for it all.
That's the thing.
Just to keep it on. Really, just to keep going. Life will find a way. Jurassic Park taught us all that.
Yeah, evolution doesn't care. Nature doesn't care.
Right.
All that's needed for a species to endure is that individuals reproduce, but the individuals don't count. They are not useful to the species once they've reproduced. Right. And I'm trying to be careful to choose my words here because there is no intention behind it. There is no. I mean, yeah, it's not. It's not directed by some unknown force. It's just the way it is. It's a process. And the individual is not useful to the process. It doesn't mean that the individual is not useful to other things, in particular in humans. I mean, we are not just, we are a lot more than reproducing animals, but to the specific process of evolution and the continuation of the species, all that counts is what happens before procreation, and what happens after procreation is just not going to
the next generation.
Yeah. So to evolution, it's okay if the individual dies after procreation, which is why those behaviors exist, and they are not detrimental to the species. They're detrimental to the individual, obviously.
But we have to look at the whole.
Yeah, and it's something that is not actually so easy to understand when you don't know the details of that process. That evolution is not about individuals. It's not selection of individuals. It's about populations. Everything is about populations.
Yep, because that's the whole population. It's not a single individual that survives. That's in the movies. Science says it's the population that survives, right? So we're doing good. We're at 7 billion. Our problem is things like, we may destroy ourselves. I think we're the only species that might do that.
What do you
Except
mean?
actually maybe
Ah,
pandas, because they're kind of stupid and then they just don't have sex, and then they're dwindling in numbers because they're too chubby and lazy. So,
yeah. So there were
uh,
while researching this topic, we found some pretty amazing stuff, right?
hilarious stuff like octopuses actually go stick their penis in there and then it just detaches. Off it
Yeah,
goes.
and then they
I'd be like
die.
that. Seems like a bad idea to
Yeah,
me.
so it's funny. There was a Penny Arcade cartoon the other day where the two characters in Penny Arcade were discussing their sex life after having kids, and one of them was saying, "Yeah, my penis detached this morning in the shower," which is
Oh, that's good.
pretty much the
That's
same
good.
thing, you know.
Yep. Some species actually detach their penis and throw it at the female, and it just jabs her like a dart.
Can you
Would you like
can you
that on your
imagine
face?
if humans did
If
that?
humans did that, oh my word! That's
We would be literally throwing bags of penises at each other. That would be.
pretty much a bad guy throwing a bag of dicks at somebody. I never thought I'd have a valid reason to make a bag of dicks joke. Oh my
Yeah,
word!
exactly.
Uh,
Excellent.
yeah, so that kind of thing. Yeah.
um, Prostitution.
Yes. Oh, and
I was amazed by
penguins,
that.
everybody's favorite. So science has found out that penguins actually prostitute themselves. They have pimps, penguin pimps. At least they dress nice. Penguin pimps, and
They all dress
they
nice.
actually pimp. That's true, and they pimp out the females for stones. Like they actually use stones as currency. So some
Yeah.
animals do use currency, stones, food,
Well,
and
it's not exactly like currency because the rocks are actually used.
all
They
right,
have a function, whereas money has no function except
right,
to be
true.
exchanged. So,
Maybe we should say quasi currency,
yeah.
because it's not true currency. They don't actually have an economic system or anything like that, but they are trading, right? There's
Yes.
something that's happening there, but basically one of the things they trade is sex. So it is the world's oldest profession, prostitution.
Yeah.
So much so, right? So we
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
species that do that. Penguins are also the gayest, and that's
Oh
not a
yeah.
pejorative.
Let's
They are
talk about
literally
that
the
unnatural.
gayest animal that there is. I remember hearing about this lovely gay penguin couple at one of the New York zoos. I think it was the Bronx Zoo some time ago. I'm sure they're dead now because it's been a while. But and there's adorable. They usually do some sort of pair bonding depending on the exact species. So depending on what the animal is, it might do monogamy, or it might, lifetime pair bonding. You see that in some birds and things like that. Others don't. They just do serial, monogamy, enough to get children raised, offspring raised, and off they go. And then new partners. Depends on, which animal. So penguins, some of them are very monogamous. They pair bond for long term. And the males just wanted to go off, had their own little romance for like 17 years or something like that. It was a really lovely, cute thing.
Yeah.
It's so stereotypical, isn't it? They're all dressed nice and everything like that, right? Wearing a tuxedo, listening to Barbara Streisand, that kind of thing.
I'm sure they do.
I'm pretty sure I read the Barbara Streisand thing in that.
Yeah. Homosexuality is also very common
Yes.
in not just in
Right?
primates, which is a known fact.
Dolphins,
There,
porpoises.
there actually is homosexuality in animals that
Sheep.
are. You mean sheep between them?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Um,
Also, there had been, if you take a look at some really low level animals, fruit flies, I remember reading a while back scientists had manipulated genes in fruit flies, and when they would manipulate a gene, it could actually make them behave in a homosexual way. They would go after males and things like that.
So
Now,
a
fruit
gay
flies, of course,
gene?
have far fewer. I don't want to say a gay gene. I don't
Yeah,
think
because
there
that would be
is. There's
super
never like
controversial.
one. Right. There's never one gene for anything. Genes generally just don't work that way. What you have are groupings of genes
Well,
that kind of work
there
together
are
to make what's called an expression.
there are
But
simple cases
nutshell.
where a gene corresponds to
Right.
a
Rarely.
specific
Not
trait,
as
but
right. Not as much as kind of groups of genes work.
yeah,
So
but in most examples that matter, there are actually groups of genes that are
right.
involved, and it's a
Now, if
lot
you're
more
talking of
complicated.
right. Yeah, it's kind of the nutshell version. But if you're talking something like a fruit fly, it's a lot less complex than much of the rest of life that we have on Earth. So they can manipulate those sets of genes. It's probably a better term. But they were actually able to spark homosexual behavior in them. They even did similar things as far up as sheep. Um, working with hormones as well, not just genes, but
Mm.
hormones and other things like that, essentially. So just, that kind of thing. Um, so, animals just, it's just a simple drive for something, that compulsion. Half the time they don't even care. I mean, if you ask Rachel Holly's dog, my leg is like the preferable object. Just
Right. So
will it, that
there is the
dog.
compulsion, and whatever works for relieving that pressure
That
is
compulsion is
eh,
going to work, right?
yeah. What
Masturbation is
counts is that
prevalent
once in a while that there is enough actual intercourse to propagate the
to
species. But
propagate the
other than
species,
that,
right? Well, you think about the dog, right? We're controlling the dog and its access to, other dogs, by either neutering it or just
mm.
controlling the physical access. So then a leg is going to have to do when company comes over, right? So, um,
Yeah. So
yeah.
homosexuality totally natural, right?
Yeah, totally natural. It's documented. Every zoo has it. Like if you think it's not a thing, do not take your kids to the zoo because not that but
Yeah.
you'll see the monkeys wanking as well because there's a lot of that going on, especially
Yeah, we
primates,
should talk about
dolphins.
masturbation next.
Yeah,
But
a lot of
yeah, it's
that.
not as if the natural fallacy was a good way to reason anyway, but
Right,
you cannot even use that one because it is natural. So
right. Yeah, so all those kind of things. So yeah, masturbation's another one. A lot of species do that. Monkeys, any kind of primate, monkey,
mm,
orangutan, etc. Go to the zoo, you never know what you're going to get.
yep.
That shows up in a
Daddy,
movie once in a
what's he
while.
doing?
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, you'll find out soon enough.
My mom
Wow.
used to say they're wrestling.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, they're
of
wrestling.
course.
That's what they're doing.
Uh,
Or yeah, when kids go out and they collect like little bugs or frogs or things like that. We didn't have iPhones in the 70s when I grew up, so I just outed myself. Anyway, so that's what we did, right? We were out playing in the yard, right? Had our little animals and things like that. And I grew up out in the sticks, so I had a lot of critters around us, and you see them out there mating all the time. Mommy, what are they doing? They're wrestling. We tell the little kids they're
but
wrestling.
why?
Well, they have WWE, don't they? They're
Yeah.
sporting. They do
Yeah,
that.
I can think of other examples where people are pretending they are wrestling and
There is that. There is that. Teenagers, particularly. That's another thing too. In pretty much every other species, the very second they are able to reproduce, they start trying, and they do, and there's no control. They just compulsively do it. We're the
yeah.
only ones that even try to control ourselves, and barely at that.
Yeah, that's a good
And there's
point.
7 billion of us, so barely at that. No matter, that's what we do,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah,
animals
there
are
you
very
go. Birth
Catholic,
control.
if you think about it. We're the only ones that can really control it.
You
So
know,
kind of like
with
sex toys, that's a tool that we have that I can't think of any. If somebody knows, let us know. But I can't think of anything where animals can. I'm going to
well,
go and
if
double check just in case there's something out there. You
yeah,
never know.
if primates masturbate, I mean, we've seen weirder stuff than
Yeah,
that.
but primates, I'm guessing, are they're getting pleasure with that. And if you look at bonobos, they use sex as a way to do conflict resolution. They don't know that that's what they're doing.
Yeah, that too.
Like they get angry, then they're screwing, and then that sorts it out. And then they're bored, then they're screwing, and it sorts it out. And it doesn't, whatever the answer is to fuck if you're a bonobo. But they're not
Uh,
fighting, so they're total 60s hippies.
yeah, so I try to I want to know. I try to
Okay.
search for animal birth control behavior, and all I found is spaying and neutering, which is, you
Ah,
know,
no,
us
no.
controlling animals, which is okay.
I actually had to Google animal throws penis because I forgot which animal it was. It was the octopus. This is why you got to clear your search history
We
if
are so
you
clearing
present
our search
at
history.
conferences. Yeah.
Uh, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
maybe don't search on a work machine either. I don't. It's on the personal machine.
yeah. Um, so yeah, we were wondering also about what was it? BDSM kinds of behavior, but
Yeah,
actually there is, right, a lot of sex is used by gorillas, for example, for domination and
right.
establishing
But I,
who's the
I,
boss and
I
stuff like
think,
that. I don't know enough about
yeah,
that. I'm probably saying stupid things here, but
right. Yeah, it's what you think about it in the animal world. It's all about domination so that you can get to the top. There's, your alpha male, like say lions and a pride of lions, something like that. So you have those kind of things happening.
yeah. So I
Um,
suppose you could put that into that
but
category.
that's not quite how humans organize very
Yeah,
often,
yeah,
right?
exactly. I'm not sure we're talking about the same thing here.
Right. So I don't. Yeah, I don't actually.
And the dynamics are really different because
Very
in the
different.
case of animals, it really is about power
It's about survival for
and
them. For
dominance
us,
and survival, whereas in humans, it's more like a game.
right?
And
It's more that 50 Shades of Grey, I guess, or whatever.
oh,
It's that
I'm told
trashy.
this is a horrible book that actually doesn't depict what those people are doing very well. But I haven't read it,
Well,
so I
I don't
cannot
know.
judge,
Yeah,
and I don't want to read
didn't
it.
either, but
So.
yeah, it does. Not when so many people tell you it's a horrible book. So,
Yeah, apparently, yeah, apparently
um,
it is,
orgies,
and
they're all about.
it does a really bad job about consent, apparently. So
Oh, yeah, no good. Orgy. Well, that's another thing, right? Orgies and rape, right? So
yes,
animals
rape.
just they clusterfuck. They just. If you go look at pictures, you can see like on farms, like a horse will be on another horse and then another horse, all little
I've seen
chain,
that
and
with
they're all
rhinos. I've
and,
seen
and
rhinos do that.
rhinos, and I've seen it with cows, two cows and a horse, and I'm like,
Yeah, so in that
oh
case, there
my
is
god.
at least one homosexual in the bunch, by the way.
At least, and it's even interspecies as well, right?
Oh,
This sounds
yeah.
almost science fiction, interspecies. Um, Not that necessarily reproduction can happen, but they're just humping something. It's like the dog humping the leg, right?
Yeah.
It's a release. Like there's no other horses the cow's gonna do. you know?
Um, so we were talking about the octopuses before. There is that makes me think of another weird behavior, which is I think cockroaches. They just they don't even try to find the female's reproductive organs. They just pierce through the
Oh, right. Just pierce through it. Yep.
yeah
It's also
anywhere, and it will just make its way to where it has to go. And
nope, nope, nope.
nope, nope, nope.
York City would be so wildly different if this kind of stuff could possibly go on. I can't even imagine Times Square. Like, just having lived in that city for 5 years. Oh gosh, yeah.
Oh well, there is also the all the parades, all the stuff that animals are doing to attract the attention of the other
Oh
gender.
right,
That's also super
peacocking.
interesting.
Peacocking,
Yes.
yes. Well, obviously the peacocks do this. Oh, and the sexual arms races. We need to talk about that, which
Yes.
brings us back to penis as well. So,
Yeah.
first, all right, so peacocking. Obviously, peacocks. Peacocks have evolved with these ridiculous feathers that actually
Yes.
make it a little detrimental for them to get away from prey. But it's all in the name of, I don't want to say like a conscious choice, but just over
No, but there
time,
is this balance that all species find between
their environment and how they can
yeah,
interact in
and
it.
the
And for the
predators and so
peacock,
on.
they're still doing fine, but they're just very feathery, and it gets more flamboyant and bombastic. New word for
Yeah,
me.
and the term arms race is really interesting because it just goes crazier and crazier, and
Crazier.
there is seemingly no end to that.
Birds
Uh,
are really good for
it's
this.
self-reinforcing where the female, for example, is going to find a trait attractive, so males that expose this trait more will get selected more, and that will also reinforce how females actually select for it, and so on and so on. And
Right. So, and then
peacocks.
it keeps going and going and going. A lot of
Uh,
birds do it. I don't know what this bird is called, but there's little videos, and it shows up in humorous videos on the internet. It's a little black bird, and it pops out these feathers that almost look like a satellite dish, and it's black with this bright turquoise like markings on it, and then it hops around in these ridiculous manners. So their mating rituals are just like fantastic. They're like Vegas
yeah.
shows, but they're birds. It's just a single bird doing this. Well, other birds trying to attract the same females
I
as
think it's
well.
safe to say that the most ridiculous things nature does are for sex.
Yeah, exactly, it is all of it is just crazy. So you have all that.
So
Birds are really
why
really
do
good at it.
why do organisms have sex in the first place?
Reproduction.
Not just reproduction. You can reproduce by just splitting, like bacteria do,
Oh, great. All
right?
right. So
Sexual reproduction
reproduction
is just
with
it's only part of life that does it.
right. That's so reproduction is reproduction with genetic mixture. I guess
Yes.
variety in genes is important. That's why the asexually reproduced organisms are below life forms generally. You go up to reptile-ish, not much further than that, where they can do stuff like that. You'll see some frogs and whatnot that if there's no, female frog, there's no males around, well, too bad, or
Yeah,
they are
it's a fallback, but
hermaphrodites.
they are still sexual animals. They are not.
It's still sexual animals in that
Yeah.
case, but that's another thing. You do have asexual animals and these ones that are somewhere in between. They would prefer sex, but if they can't get it, they're just gonna split themselves anyway, reproduce.
And they are hermaphrodites as well.
So that's another thing too. So the gender, the binary gender is a very human construct. If you look at nature, if you just take apart and dissect animals, you see all sorts of interesting stuff. If you take hormone composition to the genitalia or whatever organs that they're using for reproduction.
So what are you saying that that sex is more than just gender? That there are more than two sexes in some species?
Not that there's necessarily more than two sexes, but that when genes do combine and mix and then later express themselves, sometimes, when you also mix hormones and the
Oh
environment,
yeah, it's a continuum.
sometimes, right. So
Yeah.
you might, a hermaphrodite, like say a human is like that, where a frog is, on the species, they might be that way, but us, generally, that would be very rare in the population, but it does happen. So you have everything on the spectrum from males and females that have, you may actually have, like, you could be a male and have female parts on the inside that you don't know about, or vice versa. They just don't
and
necessarily look the same. And then
we
the
tend to
hormone
focus
levels
on X and Y chromosomes, but
right, and
that's only part of the story.
And then just like, what we consider like cut and dry genitalia, so to speak, like your traditional stuff. I don't know how else to put it.
That actually depends on a lot of developmental issues and hormones and so on. And even if you have the right mixture of X and Y chromosomes, or the mixture is not the right term, but anyway, you might still develop genitalia that disagree with that.
Right. That's not what people.
There is not a direct correlation between
label
the two.
as normal or regular, right? So
and sometimes they are in between, and there are cases where the parents just are asked to choose what the sex of their child is.
Yes.
Which
now,
is
animals don't get that choice, but this does happen, and I forget what the stats were. It's rare, but it's just enough that there are a few of the popular diseases out there that are just as prevalent. So I was like, interesting. So a lot of variation in things like genitalia and hormones and the mixture of that, and then of course developing in the womb, other things while you're also very young and still developing. This all accounts for how an organism develops into a sexual creature, and then how they're able to reproduce and pass on those genes and their reproductive success later.
And in some species, the gender actually changes during the life of the animal. Clownfish are like that.
Some frogs do that too.
Yep. I'm looking at some websites here that talk about these kinds of behavior.
When you're done.
And I'm looking at this one. Flatworms mating involves violent penis fencing.
Oh yeah, I remember reading
and that triggered visions of fights in Spaceballs, with the Schwartz and the.
Wait.
Oh no, it wasn't that movie.
You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Yeah.
That's what popped in my head there. Nico Montoya.
Yes.
Prepare to die. Yeah.
Male Argentine lake ducks use their penis as a lasso.
A lasso? Oh my God, New York! I'm just like, New York would be such a different place. Penis as a lasso. Ducks have. All right, so penises are completely crazy, right? It's not just like the elephant or the rhino. And there was this little meme going around the internet of a tapir, which is a kind of like a weird, almost like it looks like I guess like a pig, and then some other animal like a aardvark or something, and they're kind of big, and it has a giant one, and it's scratching itself with it. Okay. And of course, the horse jokes, insert a joke about a horse, that kind of thing. But ducks have an arms race within the male-female.
It's interesting because ducks are one of those species where the males are the colorful ones.
Oh, actually, yes. Many species where the males are generally more colorful, especially around birds and fish and things like that. So the male ducks have a corkscrew penis, and they're several feet long in some species. And why they have this is because they're very rapey little animals. They basically, that's how they get it done. They do a lot of rape. So because of this, the female has developed a corkscrew vagina. So it's
like a key and a keyhole.
Exactly.
Oh,
It's crazy. As a matter of fact, there is a series that it kind of parodies Morgan Freeman doing the nature documentaries, but it's actually factually correct, and it's called True Facts About. So look up True Facts About the Duck and just
oh
watch it.
yeah, I will.
F-bombs don't, for kids, maybe not. But it just, what the ducks do are just crazy. Ducks
So I
also,
typed true facts, and
ducks
it
are
just
gross.
completed it to true facts about the duck.
Right. So ducks are gross. They do necrophilia. They will do gay sex. They will do anything. Not saying gay sex is gross, but necrophilia is totally gross. They will have sex with ducks that have been dead for months. They just do it. They've been caught doing it like time and again. They're just disgusting.
Ducks are disgusting.
Disgusting.
But ducklings are so cute.
Aren't they? No, they grow up to be disgusting things.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. They don't look that bad though. But also, so that actually shows the scientists, like, they have a corkscrew glass, and they get the duck to get the penis through it, thinking it's a female duck. And you can actually see that happening. And hunters know this well, duck hunters. You could stretch it out for a while. It goes out for a while because they're corkscrew. So that's all just tucked up in there, and then they just kind of let it out when they have to. They also do lots of gang rapes as well. As a matter of fact, they kill females pretty darn regularly while mating with them. So that happens quite a bit.
So what's the point of that?
I know, right? I don't know, actually. Enough of them survive. I guess
Right.
that's the thing. That's all that matters, right? Enough of them survive. Enough that
it's probably some kind of arms race as well, where the most violent ones are the ones that fuck the most, and
now things
as a
like
result
can backfire, right? If you look at the panda and their lack of a sex drive, that's kind of backfiring, right? It was good enough for a long time, but now they're kind of
well, when the environment changes and exerts different pressure, then what was beneficial at one point can cease to be.
May not be. So I can see the ducks could maybe have a problem like that at some point. Yeah.
What else? Well, bonobos, sure.
Just kind of drive-by sex, usually the lower life form. That's what I call it. Sponges in the water, fish, things like that. They just go deposit eggs, and then another one just goes and deposits sperm. I'm like, doesn't sound very fun at all.
Yeah, so
that's all they do is just drop off a load of eggs, a load of sperm, and then they might come back and do things to the nest depending on the species, but yeah, kind of boring.
Plants kind of do that as well.
The birds and stuff like that.
They're helped by insects, but basically right now in lovely Washington, the air is saturated with tree sperm.
Tree sperm, and in certain oceans, the coral sponges. And
when you swim in the sea, you're most likely swimming in cum, right?
Oh. Jesus Christ, Bertrand! Like to the beat.
Oh, this is disgusting.
Can't even. I was just gonna go back to Florida. Like now, maybe not. Oh man. But yeah, that's basically what's going on there. Especially if you're there during mating season. Oh God. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah. So the trees are disgusting. The fish are disgusting.
It's gross. Oh, because humans are not disgusting at all.
Humans are animals. They are the worst.
They are the worst. Oh my word.
Okay, so I'm learning now that female cats can get pregnant while already pregnant.
Oh my God.
from
Well,
the spiked thing that we talked about before.
I see. Interesting
Cats
though.
are weird.
That's almost like engineering efficiency. Why wait? Right? Get more done now. It's like agile cycles or something.
Exactly. Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. That actually does sound efficient, but again, not so pleasant to be.
And I suppose we could go on like that for hours.
Pretty much. So I stayed at my cousin's house in Carolina a few months ago for a wedding, and it was still a little warm. So I, slept with the window open, and they have a cat, and like the cat likes to go near this room and hang out because there's a tree right there. And, it was like 3 a.m. and I guess the cat started screaming. Oh, that just scared me right out of sleep because it was that loud. It was like, it scared the living daylights out of me. I totally even forgot they had a cat. But yeah, that sounded painful.
I actually have to go.
Okay. Swimming?
What?
Going to the beach?
No.
No, not anymore. We're done.
No, but there's air around here. That is also full of pollen and stuff.
Tree pollen, yeah. Tree sperm.
Everything is disgusting.
Pretty much. Yep, everything is gross. Oh, yeah, that's a good topic. Everything is gross.
Everything is gross. Yeah, there was a grossology exhibit that was here.
Oh my!
Yeah, that was about everything gross.
Everything gross.
Yeah. Cool.
we got a good deal of topic covered there.
So if anybody watching this has some more amazing examples of disgusting things animals do, please tell us. We would love to know.
Tell us about your pets. What do they do?
Yeah. All right. Well,
another episode of Absolute Zero.
Yep. It was another episode of Absolute Zero. Definitely was. What are we going to talk next week? I don't know.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Okay.
See you next week. Bye, everyone.